Hello, everyone. Today we're continuing our lesson about the Inca, and we are looking at their history. In one of their legends, the Inca people first began with a small band of migrating hunters who settled in what would become the city of Cuzco, which is in modern-day Peru. Estimates place this event around 1200 CE. Much of the Inca culture was adopted from civilizations who had previously dominated the Andes, such as the Wari, Tiwanaku, Moche, and Nazca. The Inca credited with transforming the nation from a kingdom into an empire was the legendary Pachacuti Inca Yapanqui, which in Quechua means "he who overturns time and space." Pachacuti was considered a phenomenal military tactician similar to Alexander the Great, who would defeat all who opposed him. He was born in Cuzco and first proved himself when he defended his people against a band of invaders called the Chanca in 1438. He fought the Chanca even after his father, the king, fled along with his brother, the legal heir to the throne. Pachacuti became so popular that his father had no choice but to name him his successor. Pachacuti then began working towards two goals: expanding the Inca territory, and the first of the mass construction projects we remember the Inca people for today. Eventually, Pachacuti ruled over a huge territory from Cuzco, the capital of his empire. In the mountains of Cuzco, he organized the construction of Machu Picchu. The Inca Empire was home to hundreds of civilizations, now living under the rule of a single authority, and yet somehow none of them had any idea what writing was. It is estimated that their population was around 10 million. When Pachacuti died, his son Topa Inca followed in his father's footsteps and expanded their territory even further. By 1470, all of their rivals had been defeated, and the Inca were the unchallenged rulers of the Andes region. So the Inca civilization had a total of about 14 monarchs until the Spanish replaced them. Some of them were kings, some of them were emperors. We won't go into them all, but there they are. After Christopher Columbus returned to Spain with news of the new land, Europeans started to flock to America by the thousands in search of God, gold, and glory. Europeans had lived with deadly diseases for centuries, and while they were not completely immune, they had developed antibodies and their immune systems were better equipped to recover from diseases. The indigenous people of America had no such luxuries. Within just a few generations after the arrival of Europeans, the continents of the Americas were virtually emptied of their native inhabitants. Some academics estimate that approximately 95% of the indigenous population may have died in the years following European arrival. In 1527, 5 years before the Spanish arrived, European diseases reached the Inca. It immediately killed Emperor Inca Huayna Capac, and soon the city of Cusco was devastated by plague. 9 out of 10 people died. The bodies stacked so high in the streets, there was no one who could bury them all. The death of the emperor and his son to disease left a power vacuum that plunged the nation into civil war as multiple claimants fought for the throne. Tens of thousands were killed, and many cities were sacked, all while diseases continued to spread and kill. Eventually, the fight came down to two of Huayna Capec's sons, Huascar and Atahualpa. Stories say that Atahualpa was a ruthless killer, not even sparing women and children. In 1532, Atahualpa defeated his brother's army and became the supreme ruler of the Inca. Once in the palace at Cuzco, Atahualpa slaughtered all other possible contenders for the throne, even illegitimate sons of Capec. In 1532, the infamous Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro led an expedition into Inca territory. Pizarro was related to Hernan Cortez, who had conquered the Aztecs. When tribes would resist his forces, Pizarro would have the chiefs burned alive. Pizarro's expeditions met with many failures, but these only increased his ambition to make it all count for something. As he journeyed through South America, he heard rumors of a rich empire with palaces made of gold. Finding this rich nation became his obsession. So let's take a look at the Incas' initial reactions to Spanish when they first saw them.
After Huayna Capac had died, people scrambled for political power, each saying to their others, "Me first! Me first!" It was while they were carrying on this way that the Spanish appeared.
The Inca ruler and chronicler named Taitu Cusi, who had been a boy at the time of the invasion, recounted his memories of that time in a remarkable document almost 30 years later. In it, he recalls the shock and confusion that the arrival of the Spanish caused as messengers burst into his father's palace with the news.
They reported having observed that certain people had arrived in their land, people who were very different from us in custom and dress. When my father heard this, he was beside himself and said, "How dare those people intrude into my country without my authorization and permission? Who are these people and what are their ways?" The messengers answered, "They claim to have come by the wind. They are bearded people, very beautiful and white. They eat out of silver plates. Even their sheep, who carry them, are large and wear silver shoes. They throw thunder like the sky."
Taitu Cusi even captures what it was like to see the Spaniards reading for the first time.
"We have witnessed with our own eyes that they talk to white cloths by themselves, and that they call some of us by our names, without having been informed by anyone, and only looking into the sheets, which they hold in front of them."
Another later chronicler, Father Bernabe Kobo, recounts similar scenes of fear and confusion.
The messengers, who were much alarmed and frightened, as by something that they had never dreamed of, told the Inca how some strange people, never seen before, had landed on the beach. These men were stuffed into their clothes, which covered them from head to foot. They were white and had beards and a ferocious appearance. And when the Inca asked from what part of the world they had come, he was told that the messengers only knew that the strangers travelled across the sea in large wooden houses.
Yeah, we can see it was quite a shock for Mesoamerican people to witness Europeans for the first time because they had never seen horses, guns, cannons, and for the Inca people, they had never even seen reading. Only after several failed expeditions did Pizarro finally find the Inca Empire. On November 15, 1532, a small force of Pizarro's troops arrived at the city of Cajamarca, right as Atahualpa was celebrating his victory over his brother. It was then Pizarro executed a scheme to trick Atahualpa. He first set up a meeting where he gained Atahualpa's trust. Atahualpa was so preoccupied with his victory over his brother, he had no idea who the foreigners were and did not realize they were a threat, so he agreed to meet with them. He arrived to the rendezvous with a force of mostly unarmed ceremonial guards to celebrate their new friendship. It was then the Spanish priest told Atahualpa he must pay tribute to the King of Spain. When Atahualpa refused, Pizarro sprung his ambush, unleashing cavalry and firing cannons, both of which were completely unknown to the Inca people at that time. Imagine how scared they must have been. The ambush was a complete success. Pizarro captured Atahualpa and killed his men. In a desperate attempt to save his own life, Atahualpa told the Spanish his people would pay them enough gold to fill an entire room, and twice that much in silver as ransom for his safe return. Pizarro agreed, and so from throughout the empire, the Inca brought piles and piles of gold, silver, and other treasures to save their emperor. After melting the precious metals down, the Spanish ended up with around $1.5 billion worth of treasure in today's money. This was the largest ransom ever paid in history. Unfortunately, the Spanish did not keep up with their end of the bargain. After hearing rumors that he planned to betray them, the Spanish charged Atahualpa with treason and sentenced him to be burned alive. However, they agreed to give him a less severe punishment if he converted to Christianity. After he converted, the priests had Atahualpa strangled to death. Pizarro's men then proceeded to slaughter the residents of Cajamarca. This was the death of the last Inca emperor and marked the beginning of the end of the Inca civilization. After Atahualpa's death, the Spanish installed numerous puppet emperors loyal to the Spanish crown and Christianity. One of these was Manco Inca Yapanqui. Though he was loyal to the Spanish at first, when he saw his chance, Yapanqui rebelled. He laid siege to the Spanish in Cuzco and attacked their newly founded city of Lima. He set up a rebel stronghold in the remote jungles of Vilcabamba. This was the last fortress of the free Inca, where they held out against the Spanish for another 30 years. The other puppet emperors never lasted very long, and some were even assassinated for their collaboration with the Spanish. Others became rebels like Yapanqui. The Spanish would openly kill, rob, and rape, and they destroyed Inca culture wherever they could. Thousands more Spanish settlers continued to pour in. Although the Inca rebels eventually became savvy with modern weaponry and horses, in 1572 Vilcabamba fell to a barrage of Spanish cannon fire. The last of Vilcabamba's leaders was King Tupac Amaru. After his capture, he was marched back to Cusco and sentenced to death along with his generals. As Amaru ascended the scaffold to be beheaded, the onlooking crowd of over 10,000 Inca let out a blood-curdling wail of mourning. They cried and screamed, filling the air with despair and drowning out all other sounds. But when Tupac Amaru clapped, the people all fell silent out of respect. He prayed for the gods to witness his fate before he was beheaded. As the Europeans spread, only the Inca settlements they did not know about or could not reach survived. But without any support, these were eventually abandoned. And so the last vestige of Inca independence vanished for all time. So why was it the Inca lost to the Spanish? 1. Spanish had horses and more advanced weapons. 2. The Inca had no immunity to diseases. 3. The Inca had no system of writing. And 4. When the Spanish arrived, the Inca had no solid political leadership. What can we learn from the story of the Inca? 1. How important it is to have writing and consistency in religion and history. 2. The Spanish conquistadors were ruthless in their conquest of South America. 3. Llamas are great pack animals for traveling over mountains. 4. Socialism may provide for the people, but it leads to government corruption and the suppression of liberty. And 5. It was the Inca who built the largest empire in all of the Americas. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you next time.